Gdańsk Bay, which is a southeastern bay of the Baltic Sea. And Gdańsk, from which the bay gets its name. It's early spring and an exceptionally cold day. Just the thing to hide away in an interesting museum. Hi.
Hi.
Justyna.
Kuba.
We are a couple from Poland and we travel around Europe searching roots of our European culture. And today we are in Gdańsk and we will tell you about amber, which is related to this culture. Our video is mainly created in Amber Museum in Gdańsk and partly in Earth Museum in Warsaw. The Amber Museum in Gdańsk is itself an atmospheric, one could even say, work of art. It is located in the Great Mill in the Old Town. The Great Water Mill is a historic, largest mill in medieval Europe. It was built on an artificial island by the Teutonic Knights. The collections of the modernly organized Amber Museum are presented there in an excellent manner, and visiting it is a wonderful aesthetic pleasure. Amber is the resin of fossil trees, mainly conifers, from 40 million years ago. It consists mainly of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. An important component of Baltic amber is succinic acid, of which it contains about 8%. Sometimes the voids in amber are filled with water, which can evaporate due to the porosity of amber. But later on, amber can fill its voids with water. Succinic acid, an important component, is believed to have been created as a result of the activity of microorganisms, causing the fermentation of the cellulose in the resin. Amber has a hardness comparable to a human fingernail, which means that theoretically amber can be scratched with a fingernail. Polished amber is of course more difficult to scratch. Amber melts at a temperature about 300 degrees Celsius. Amber has the density of water. It is light. If we salt water a bit, amber will float on the surface. Amber rubbed against cloth attracts paper particles. As a child, I used to check the authenticity of amber this way. Amber conducts heat poorly. It heats up poorly. The amber-bearing land is called Fennosarmatia. It was located in the area of present-day Scandinavia and the Baltic Sea. Amber-bearing forests grew mainly in a subtropical climate, partly in a warm, temperate one. Why such a scattering in one place? Because researchers believe that the amber-bearing forests were the boundary of climate zones, from subtropical to warm temperate. From Fennosarmatia flowed the huge Eridanus River from the north. It carried logs of wood with amber and the amber itself and flowed into the sea somewhere near today's Gdańsk. The reason for the diversity of climate zones crossing Phenosarmatia was the diversity of its surface, from the mountains in the north to the wetlands in the spreading mouth of the Eridanus River. On this land grew date palms, sequoias, spruces, firs, pines, cypresses, oaks, magnolias, ivies, horsetails, ferns, and of course many others. We do not find amber in its original location because in the Pleistocene, amber was moved south by glaciers, and we find it mainly in secondary deposits. Amber was created either from resin that flowed down the trunk, creating drops, or between the bark and the rest of the wood, or healed various cracks in the tree. The question is, why did these trees resonate so much? There is no answer, only a lot of ideas. One of these ideas is that maybe at that time there were volcanic eruptions in the north. They pollinated the atmosphere, which harmed the trees, and they began to resonate very strongly. Another idea is that these trees were attacked by some virus, and then, defending themselves, they resonated very strongly. There is also the idea that climate change caused this, because in the Eocene, when amber was formed, there was quite a rapid warming. This is what amber from different parts of the tree looks like. You are looking at solidified drops of resin. The resin protects the tree's tissues by sealing wounds and has a bactericidal, fungicidal, and virucidal effect. There is amber in front of you, which is fragments of resin streams with bark imprints. This is amber that was created between the sheets of bark. This one was created as a filling of the crack under the bark, and this one from the accumulation of resin inside the tree. Plant inclusions in amber. Based on them, over 200 species of plants have been isolated. Remains of palms, conifers, oaks, chestnuts, olive trees, and tea bushes have been preserved in amber. There are also shavings of fresh wood that may have been filed down by tiny rodent incisors. A beautiful leaf print, and here a palm leaf print. Here are empty spaces left by twigs that did not survive. The vast majority of animal inclusions in amber are insects. They are preserved in the so-called icicles, which are solidified pieces of resin that float down the tree trunk. In amber you can also find paw prints of various animals and sometimes some fur. Sometimes a bird leaves some feathers in amber. Often amber contains some ancient humus or simply some forest ground. And this is a unique and exceptional specimen that you can see at the exhibition at the Amber Museum in Gdańsk. It's Gierałtowska lizard, called after its discoverer. It's the second lizard specimen found in the Baltic amber. It is one of the rarest inclusions in amber. There is only about a dozen specimens of the kind in the world. The lizard is almost 4 centimeters long and lived over 40 million years ago. It is very clearly visible in this transparent amber specimen. The lizard is almost completely preserved. It is missing only part of the head and a fragment of the back and the tip of the tail. The specimen is a mummified lizard with excellently visible details. I emphasize this because very often in amber you can't see the actual specimen, but the void left after it. Here, however, you can see the actual animal, extremely well preserved. You can see the scales and paws ending with claws very well. In this piece of amber, next to the lizard, there are preserved particles from the oak. So the lizard probably ran around the oak over 40 million years ago. An inclusion of a bird-eating spider. It's a mold. The inclusion is over 4 centimeters. It is even larger than the lizard. This size is in this compact position. If it had developed limbs, it would be probably 10 centimeters. Since this is a mold, the next version of the spider was even larger, 40 million years ago, in the area of today's Baltic Sea. It's the biggest inclusion of the type in the world. The mold was perfectly preserved, as if it had been left yesterday. It's a good thing it was 40 million years ago, not today. Gecko, a tiny reptile. The one in the Amber Museum in Gdańsk is over 2 centimeters long and is an adult. What's more, it has been preserved in its entirety. It is an extremely rare inclusion. There are only 2 known gecko specimens in Baltic amber. This one here is a new, previously unknown species. There is also a small scorpion from the Baltic Sea region, a well-preserved centipede and arachnid. At the Amber Museum in Gdańsk, you can also see an amber specimen from the Guinness Book of Records. This piece does not come from the Baltic Sea, but from Sumatra. It is the world's largest piece of amber and weighs 68 kilograms. Every amber contains a lot of air bubbles. Those varieties that contain up to 25% air bubbles are semi-transparent. Varieties that contain about 50% air bubbles start to be white and opaque, although some white varieties are the result of micro cracks. Amber greenish color is due to the chlorophyll it contains. Amber occurs in primary and secondary varieties. Primary varieties are fossilized resin from trees 40 million years ago. Secondary varieties are the result of weathering of amber. The weathering process can cause, for example, a change in the color of specimens. Primary amber is usually yellow. As it weathers, it changes color to increasingly orange, ending with red. This is not a very long-lasting process. For example, amber exposed for a long time in exhibition changes color to more and more orange. Among the known collections from the 19th century, one can see that many specimens changed color to orange or red. Polished amber, for example in products, is however to a large extent protected against this process. The oldest evidences of using amber come from 80,000 years ago, from Bohemia. Here is a beautiful horse from Dobiegniewo from about 10,000 years ago. And here is a bear figurine discovered in Pidbok near Słupsk. It comes from the end of the Paleolithic or the beginning of the Neolithic. There is a boar from a similar time. The disk, sometimes called the solar disk. Such disks are found in the Baltic region. They are dated from 6,000 years ago. A very strong hypothesis says that they are a symbolic image of the world. They have spiritual significance. This amber axe also has symbolic, ritual and spiritual significance. It also comes from ancient times. From 11,000 years ago, the Danish islands and the Jutland were a major center of the art of amber working. Later, 5,000 years ago, one of the largest centers of amber working was in the Vistula Delta. Henrik Schliemann found amber pieces of jewelry in the shaft graves of Mycenae, dating back to about 1600 BC. In the Bronze Age, on the trade route between Mycenae and the Baltic region was, for example, a fortified hill fort on Zyndram's Hill and the defensive settlement in Trzcinica, both in southern Poland. From the 5th century BC, the Celts activated the ancient trade routes leading north to southern Scandinavia, from where they brought amber. The Etruscans considered amber a luxury material. Amber was also very popular in the times of Roman Empire. Aquileia, a port on the Adriatic Sea founded by the Romans in 181 BC, became the base of expeditions undertaken to obtain amber. There was no single amber route, but there were many roads leading to the north where amber was bought. The routes converged in the area of the Vistula mouth on the Baltic Sea. Local amber workshops were working on these roads. In the early Middle Ages, amber craftsmanship developed in centers such as Wolin, Kołobrzeg, Truszow and Gdańsk. Truszow near Elbląg was a settlement set up by Vikings in the 8th century. The first, most important and largest guild of amber craftsmen was formed in Bruges in 1302. In 1308, Gdańsk was conquered by the Teutonic Knights, who monopolized both sourcing and trading amber. The Golden Age and times of peak development of amber craft lasted from the second half of the 16th century to the first half of the 18th century. Initially, the trade was dominated by Königsberg, but later Gdańsk grew to become the main production center. There were also smaller centers of amber craft, for example Elbląg or Słupsk. An unique object produced in Gdańsk was the amber throne for Emperor Leopold I. The throne was ordered from Gdańsk and handcrafted by Nikolaus Turał and Christopher Mosher. The amber products of highest popularity in the medieval Europe were rosary strings produced by the paternoster makers. Their name comes from the Our Father, Pater Noster, prayed on the first large bead of the rosary. Not only rosaries, since ancient times amber has been used to make pre-Christian religious items, including talismans. Here are some of them. Amber has probably always been used in medicine. In antiquity, it was applied in tonsil problems, sore throat, ear and eye problems, to control fever, reduce headaches. It was administered powdered, mixed with honey, rose oil or mastic. In the Middle Ages, amber tinctures were produced on beer, wine and water to prevent indigestion, rheumatic pains and mitigate the effect of viper venom poisoning. During epidemics, to counteract the spreading of diseases, it was recommended to incense homesteads with the smoke of burning amber. Since the 14th century, so-called pomanders were popular. This is the popular name for amber apple, Pomum ambrae. This item and its popularity was connected to the epidemic of Black Death, which ravaged Europe in 1348 to 1420. As a prophylactic measure, it was recommended to clear the air and kill the foul smell with strongly fragrant substances such as amber, ambergris, camphor, musk or aloe vera. Most often pomanders were produced in the form of metal lattice balls capable of emitting fragrance. They were often worn attached to belts or built into rosary strings, like this one in the painting. In front of you are pomanders according to the recipe by Nostradamus. He is mostly known as the author of prophecies, but he was also the author of works on cosmetics, pharmaceuticals and cookbooks. These pomanders were made combining powdered amber with styrax, benzoin, rose, marjoram, carnation, iris and sweet flag rootstock, labdanum absolute, the floral equivalent of musk, and gum arabic gruel. And these are amber pills to the recipe from 18th century. They are for internal use. They were used to treat ulcers of the lower section of the gastrointestinal tract and as a laxative. Such pills and these ones here are made of gum arabic, turpentine, potassium soap, riem amber, camphor and styrax. Amber was also believed to have antibacterial properties, which is why it was used to make spoons, cigar boxes, pipe tips, and tea boxes. Many people in our country still use amber tincture to rub the chest when suffering from colds, and amber ointment for ailments accompanying rheumatism. It is not magic because amber contains many valuable ingredients, including the most valuable succinic acid. Finally, something about modifying amber and its imitations. Already Pliny the Elder, in the 1st century AD, recommended that amber be clarified by boiling in the fat of the young pigs. White color was obtained by boiling amber for 14 days in a saturated solution of salt. It was dyed, for example, with saffron and organic purple. Large pieces were obtained by bonding small pieces by heating up the contact surfaces. Only in 1881, at the Viennese companies of Spiller and Trebisch, amber began to be pressed at a pressure of 300 atmospheres and the temperature of 140 to 200 degrees Celsius. In 20th century, amber was improved in stoves, electric baking appliances, and today is handled in presses and autoclaves. Imitations. The earliest amber imitations were made of natural subfossil resins, including copal. Even today, they remain the finest imitations, and their relationship with amber is the closest. Copal necklaces were initially coated with varnish to intensify their color, give them a better shine, and prevent from getting sticky. Today, copal is hardened in autoclaves. There are some described methods for combining resin with different chemical compounds to make their identification more difficult. As organic chemistry developed, artificial resins started to be discovered and were found useful for amber imitations. But yellow-tinted glass used to imitate amber was known as early as antiquity. In order not to end the story about something as fantastic as amber with imitations, let's look at some amber creations. Sometimes from pressed amber, but natural, and sometimes from original lamps. It's all for today. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to not miss next videos, and till the next time. Bye bye.
Bye.